You want to know what turns a man into a loyal king. It's not chasing him. It's not bending over backward. It's not doing more, giving more, or waiting around hoping he'll change. It's making a move, the kind of move that isn't about him at all. It's about you. There is one defining moment in every woman's journey, a moment where she looks at herself and says, "I deserve more than crumbs." That moment, that internal shift, is the move that changes everything. Because the second you stop tolerating inconsistency, you stop being optional. You become a queen, and you know what real kings do when they meet a queen. They adjust their crown and show up. You want to know what turns a man into a loyal king? It's not the effort you pour into proving yourself. It's not in constantly showing him how much you care, how much you're willing to sacrifice, or how deeply you're invested. It's in that exact moment you choose yourself. It's in the second you draw the line and say, "This is what I deserve, and I will not settle for less." That is the move that shifts everything, because when a woman operates from a place of deep self-worth, the game changes. She no longer plays by the rules of insecurity or fear. She plays by the rules of truth, and truth has a frequency that people can feel. It doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, and it doesn't perform. It simply exists with power. Men are wired to respond to standards. When you lower yours in an effort to be more likable, more agreeable, more understanding, you don't build love, you build resentment, and often that resentment starts within yourself. You start to feel invisible, you start to question your own worth, and that internal erosion is exactly what keeps women stuck in cycles of waiting, hoping, tolerating. But when you wake up to the fact that your value doesn't need to be proven, it only needs to be protected, everything shifts. You stop pouring energy into the wrong people, and you start conserving it for yourself. This is not about punishing a man. It's not about teaching him a lesson. It's not even about him. This is about you stepping back into alignment. The most powerful move you can ever make in a relationship is to walk away from confusion. When a man sees a woman who refuses to accept breadcrumbs, who is willing to walk away with grace and without drama, it forces him to take a hard look at himself. And here's what happens next. The wrong ones fall away and the right one wakes up. He realizes he's not just losing someone who cared. He's losing someone who knew herself, someone who didn't need him but chose him. And that kind of energy is rare. A loyal man isn't loyal because he's afraid of losing you. He's loyal because he respects you so deeply that losing you isn't even an option in his mind. But he only learns to respect you when he sees you respect yourself. That's the cornerstone of everything. You can't teach a man to love you by giving more of yourself. You teach him by showing how you love yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you prioritize your peace over temporary attention. And that right there is what makes a man shift, not your words, not your effort, your energy. It's about walking away from those who keep you small. It's about understanding that silence is sometimes louder than confrontation. That space is sometimes more impactful than pleading. That peace is the new power. When a man feels that he can't access you the way he used to, because you are now protecting your joy, your time, and your soul, it creates a wake-up call. It forces him to step into the version of himself he knows you deserve, and if he can't, that's not your loss, it's your liberation. You don't need a man to become loyal. You need to become loyal to yourself. Because when you make that move, the move of honoring yourself above all else, you don't just demand loyalty, you inspire it, and that's how you turn a man into a loyal king, not by asking him to become one, but by becoming the kind of woman who would never settle for less. And that's power. There's something magnetic about a woman who knows who she is, not just on the surface, but deep down. She walks into a room and doesn't need to prove a thing. Her energy speaks before she does. She's not chasing validation, not seeking attention, and not trying to force anything that doesn't feel right. That kind of woman does something to a man. It disarms him, it challenges him, it makes him stop and think, what do I need to do to keep her in my life? And the answer isn't in manipulation or games, it's in one defining move. She values herself more than she values being chosen. That's the shift. That's what flips a man's mindset from passive to present, from convenient to committed. We've been taught for too long that love means effort, and yes, love does take work. But there's a difference between effort and overfunctioning. There's a difference between giving from a place of love and giving from a place of fear. Fear that if you don't do enough, you won't be enough. And the truth is, the moment you operate from that place, you send a message that your worth is negotiable. That's when men get comfortable. That's when they stop showing up fully. Because deep down, they know you'll still be there. You'll still try, you'll still forgive even when you're exhausted, but when you reclaim your energy and decide you're not chasing anyone who won't meet you where you stand, something radical happens. You become a mirror, and that mirror reflects a man's choices right back at him. Every man has the potential to be a king, but not every man chooses to rise. Some only do when the woman they love refuses to shrink. When she stops accommodating his comfort and starts honoring her clarity, he's left with a choice, grow or go. And if he chooses to grow, it's because he sees her as irreplaceable, not because she begged or pleaded, but because her strength challenged him to level up. This isn't about ego, it's about essence. A man becomes loyal not just out of love, but out of deep-rooted respect. And respect isn't given freely. It's earned through consistency, integrity, and self-honor. That's why it's not about convincing someone to choose you. It's about becoming so rooted in your own life that they realize losing you would be like losing air. You show up for yourself, you pursue your goals, you create joy without waiting on someone to provide it. You stop needing him to fill gaps you've already filled within. And when a man sees that, when he truly understands that your presence is a gift, not a guarantee, that's when he becomes intentional. He becomes accountable. He becomes loyal. Loyalty is a response to energy. It's not something you can demand. It's something you inspire by the way you live and lead yourself. A man doesn't want to protect a woman who has no boundaries. He wants to stand beside a woman who protects herself, who knows when to say yes, when to say no, and when to walk away. That kind of woman is rare. That kind of woman shifts the entire dynamic, because now he's not just showing up for her. He's showing up for the man he becomes in her presence. So no, the move that turns a man into a loyal king isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet, internal, and deeply powerful. It's the move you make when you finally realize that the greatest love you'll ever receive is the love you first give yourself. And from that place, everything else aligns. The right man will rise. The wrong ones will fade. But you'll never lose because you chose you. There comes a point in every woman's life when she stops looking outward and begins turning inward. She stops asking, "Why isn't he treating me right?" and starts asking, "Why am I allowing this?" That is the beginning of everything. That's the moment where the move is made, not a physical move, but a mental one, a spiritual one. A woman who makes that shift doesn't just change her relationships, she changes the energy around her entirely. And this change, this evolution, is what awakens something inside a man that goes far deeper than attraction. It awakens loyalty. It awakens reverence, because a woman who is loyal to herself invites a man to match her or move out of her way. You see, when a woman is unclear about who she is, it shows. She's second, guesses, she overgives, she tries too hard to be everything to someone who can't even meet her halfway, and over time that wears her down. She becomes resentful, depleted, and confused about why love feels more like labor. But when she finally stops and decides she's not doing that anymore, when she claims her worth not through words, but through boundaries, through peace, through non-reaction, that's when everything changes. She doesn't yell, she doesn't explain, she simply becomes unavailable to anything that doesn't honor her, and that energy is powerful. It's not ego, it's clarity. It's the understanding that love is never about begging. That real connection doesn't require you to lose pieces of yourself just to be kept. A man may not understand this at first. He might be used to being chased, used to being forgiven without change, used to being needed. But when that woman no longer needs him and instead chooses herself with grace and certainty, he's forced to see her differently. He realizes he's not in control. She is. She's in control of her life, her peace, her emotional state, and if he wants a place in it, he's going to have to earn it. That's when a man starts reflecting. He starts seeing all the times he was inconsistent, all the moments he took her presence for granted, and it dawns on him. He's not losing a woman, he's losing a sanctuary. He's losing someone who showed up when she didn't have to. Someone who loved without conditions, but who finally made one, respect, loyalty, presence, and when that condition isn't met, she walks. Not to punish, but to protect what she's built within. A loyal man isn't made by accident. He's made when he meets a woman who demands more by needing less. She's not trying to control him. She's not waiting for him to figure it out. She's too busy living. And that's what inspires him, because every man at his core wants to be needed. But more than that, he wants to be chosen by someone who doesn't need him, but still values him. That kind of love is rare. That kind of woman doesn't come around twice, so he changes, not because she told him to, but because her absence taught him everything her presence never could. He becomes loyal because he now understands the cost of not being. He becomes consistent because he knows she won't settle for anything less, and he becomes a king because he sees her as a queen, not a fantasy, not a fixer, but a standard, a woman who made the move not to win him, but to reclaim herself. That's how it happens. That's the move that changes everything. When a woman finally decides to stop compromising herself for the sake of being loved, something profound happens. It's like a veil lifts. She begins to see clearly. She realizes that the very love she's been searching for from a man is the love she's been withholding from herself, and in that clarity she stops begging for crumbs. She stops explaining her worth. She stops waiting for someone else to validate what she already knows deep inside. She is enough. That decision, that moment of internal revolution, is the very move that doesn't just shift her life, but shifts the way a man sees her. He no longer sees someone who needs him. He sees someone who leads herself, and that is the foundation of loyalty. When a woman no longer makes her emotional state dependent on someone else's behavior, she becomes powerful beyond measure. She no longer reacts. She responds with intention. She's not driven by the fear of losing someone. She's driven by the desire to remain true to herself. That kind of emotional independence sends a ripple through every relationship she has, especially romantic ones. Because men are used to women bending, giving, stretching, and adapting just to keep the connection alive. But this woman doesn't bend in ways that break her. She doesn't give away her center to feel needed. She stays grounded, and that grounded energy either inspires a man to step up or forces him to step aside. A man becomes loyal when he feels inspired, not obligated. Obligation never leads to depth. It leads to resentment. But when a man sees a woman who isn't chasing him, who isn't performing, but instead living in full alignment with her truth, it wakes something up in him. It makes him ask himself, am I showing up in a way that deserves her presence? And that question isn't born from pressure. It's born from admiration. He admires how she carries herself. He admires how she doesn't flinch in the face of silence, how she doesn't panic when things aren't clear, how she doesn't collapse when she's alone. That's steadiness, that's magnetic. Men aren't inspired by drama. They're inspired by emotional clarity, by a woman who doesn't demand attention but commands respect. And the way she commands respect isn't loud or boastful. It's quiet, it's subtle, it's in how she says no without guilt. It's in how she detaches from things that drain her. It's in how she pours into herself without waiting on anyone else to do it first. That self-sufficiency doesn't make her hard, it makes her whole. And when a man experiences that kind of woman, he begins to evolve. He evolves because he knows she won't settle. He evolves because he understands that her standards aren't a test. They're a reflection of the life she's built. And if he wants to be a part of that life, he must bring more than charm or words. He must bring consistency, presence, effort, That's how loyalty is formed. Not through pressure, but through a natural response to something real. Something rare. This woman didn't become powerful overnight. She became powerful the moment she stopped outsourcing her value, the moment she stopped shrinking to be accepted, the moment she realized that real connection isn't built through sacrifice, it's built through truth. And if a man can't handle her truth, then he's not her problem to fix. That's the move, the quiet, non-negotiable shift that transforms how a man sees her, and more importantly, how she sees herself. From that place, loyalty isn't a question. It's a given, because any man lucky enough to meet her at that level knows what's at stake, and he will not risk losing her again. A woman who truly knows her worth doesn't need to announce it. She lives it. You can see it in the way she walks away from things that don't align, in the way she no longer explains herself, and in the peace she chooses over chaos. That kind of woman changes the entire dynamic in a relationship. She no longer plays the role of the fixer, the chaser, or the one who carries the emotional weight for two. She simply exists in her power, and that presence alone challenges a man to either rise into loyalty or reveal his inability to meet her there. But either way, she wins, because the move that turns a man into a loyal king is the move where she refuses to abandon herself for the sake of being loved. You can't fake that kind of energy. You can't pretend to be healed or confident or grounded. It's either in you or it's not, and the moment it's in you, truly, deeply in you, people can feel it, especially men, because men can sense the difference between a woman who's performing worthiness and a woman who embodies it. One seeks approval, the other sets the standard, and when a man encounters a woman who sets the standard, he's either inspired to rise to it or exposed by it. That exposure isn't her responsibility, it's his. She didn't come to fix him, she came to be her, and being her is the most powerful move she can ever make. This is where the real shift happens, when she no longer needs reassurance from him, when she doesn't need to ask, "Where is this going?" because she already knows where she's going. When she stops waiting for him to choose her and starts choosing herself every single day, he begins to see her differently, not as someone he can keep on the sidelines while he figures things out, but as someone who has options. Someone who doesn't cling. Someone who isn't afraid of starting over because she knows what she brings to the table is rare. That energy alone forces a man to reflect. It forces him to realize that loyalty isn't a favor, it's a requirement. And if he's not willing to give it, she's not afraid to walk away. A loyal king is not created through emotional labor. He's not created through compromise that cuts too deep or love that feels like sacrifice. He's created when he's met with a woman who refuses to break herself to keep him comfortable. And in that refusal, he either steps into the man he was always meant to be, or he doesn't. Either way, she's not waiting around. Because her life doesn't stop for indecision, her peace doesn't bend for potential, she's not attached to outcomes, she's aligned with truth. That kind of woman doesn't just attract loyalty, she commands it. Not by demanding anything, but by being so deeply rooted in her own value that anything less than respect simply cannot survive in her space. Men feel that. They feel when you're not afraid to lose them. And it's that fearlessness, not coldness, not distance, but real, centered fearlessness, that shakes them into awareness, into action, into choosing you the way you've already chosen yourself. So if you're asking what turns a man into a loyal king, it's this: be the kind of woman who doesn't move to be chosen, be the kind of woman who moves to remain true. That move, the one where you stop waiting, stop explaining, stop giving more than you receive, that's the move. The one that creates clarity, the one that inspires growth, the one that either builds a bond that can't be broken or clears space for something better, and no matter how it ends, you remain whole, because you never left yourself to keep someone else. And that is the most loyal thing you'll ever do.